So now, people die, even today, people die for what they believe in. That's not the amazing thing. The amazing thing is, if it's a lie, he died for something he knew was a lie. And that's true for all the eyewitnesses who died for their faith. They died for something they knew was false. And I can't accept that. Can't accept it. It makes no sense at all. It's easier to believe that there is a God who can raise the dead than to believe that these people fabricated a lie and then willingly suffered and died for it without any one of them recanting and saying, before someone pulls the trigger, you know, wait, don't kill me, we made it up.
So let's think about this a little critically. Paul talks about how there were Christians before him. Paul was persecuting Christians. Paul wouldn't have been the person to make this up if it were a lie. If we were to assume that a group of Jews decided to lie about the Messiah and tell everybody that the Messiah had come, died, resurrected, and absolved sins, let's say that they knew it was a lie. They weren't the ones that were dying for the faith, at least that we know about. Paul completely believed in the faith. He didn't lie. He didn't make it up, because this whole idea of a dying and rising Messiah was already in Jewish theology. It just took some people that were inclined, for whatever reason, to say that he had already come and done these things to start the belief. Paul and the other apostles and the other Christians that were eventually persecuted for being Christian, they weren't the ones that would have been lying. So these are two totally different groups that we're talking about here. Those that started the cult, which would have come before Paul, and we know nothing about whether they were lying or they sincerely believed it, we just don't know. But the point of fact is that it started with these people, and they were not the ones that were being persecuted. They were not the ones with something to lose. They were the ones with everything to gain from it. Being that, you know, this whole idea of an eternal life, I would think that that would be a really big motivator to make something up like this. So we're talking about two different groups here, and convoluting these two groups is kind of an equivocation fallacy, because the two groups are vastly different.
You know, they all willingly and joyfully went to their death for this. So I think the only other option, and this is the one that really the most intelligent skeptics go for, is that no, they really did believe it, but they were deceived. It was hallucination or something like that.
Oh, well, shit. He knows our counter-apologetics there, honey. Fuck us. Damn it, we're gonna have to pack all this shit up. They figured us out, y'all.
And again, you consider the stories and the evidence, it just doesn't stack up. It's, again, it's easier for me to believe that there is a God who raises the dead than to believe in this group hallucination for 500 people that occurred over 40 days. They all saw the exact same thing at different times and so on and so on. You know, it just doesn't hold water for me.
Wait, but that's not what Paul relates to us. Paul doesn't say that the 500 people saw all the exact same thing or even received the exact same message from Jesus. It's just that Jesus appeared to 500. That's it. And I've made this point several times before. 500 people in the mass of like 600,000 people that were living in Judea at the time is really nothing. Like, you would not be able to find the 500 people given the information that we're given. It's not like people had a registry of who was in this 500, this crowd of 500, so that they could go and talk to them. It was just an early creed that was passed around saying 500 people saw Jesus resurrect from the dead. Or not resurrect from the dead, but being that he was risen, Jesus appeared to them. That's it. That is not the kind of information we would need in order to verify what these people saw. Not even in the first century. Not even in Paul's time. Not even for somebody that just missed it by like a week. If you just say, oh, well, 500 people saw this guy resurrect from the dead right in front of them. Oh, where are they? I don't know. Like, we don't know. So to say that these people saw all the exact thing is not true. They saw the risen Jesus, and this can be explained by a group hallucination. But even so, I think that particular part's interpolated in Paul, because it's just one small spelling error away from being that Jesus appeared over the Pentecost rather than to 500 people. I feel like it could be interpolated, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say that it did appear to 500 people in that particular passage. This is still just a very ambiguous reference. But also, I want to touch on the fact that he can't get away from it being easier to believe in miraculous things than to believe in nature. And that still blows my mind, because every miraculous thing that we have experienced in our past has eventually been explained by natural processes. So it seems like thinking that something is natural, like a hallucination or something of that kind, that seems to be a much more likely situation than a miracle happening, considering that no miracle has actually panned out to be a miracle. It's always been explained by natural things. So it really does blow my mind to hear somebody say that it's easier to believe in magic or miracles than it is to believe in the natural world. Something that we interact with on a daily basis. Something that we see work consistently throughout time.
It's not because of intellectual objections or evidence or lack of evidence. In the end, it comes down to, do you want to believe it or not? And many of us just don't want to believe it. And so we rationalize it.
No, I don't know. Because I can see this from two different directions here. For one, he's talking explicitly about atheists and how, we don't believe in the resurrection of Jesus. And he's saying that it's because we don't want to believe in the resurrection of Jesus. And it's not because there's no intellectual evidence for it, or there's no evidence at all that Jesus resurrected from the dead. It's not because of any of those reasons. It's just a matter of whether we want to or not, which is a real misrepresentation of our position. Just because I'm unconvinced of the resurrection of Jesus doesn't mean that I want it to be true or don't want it to be true. The other way that I can see him talking about this is that it really doesn't matter if there is intellectual evidence for it or not. Like, it doesn't matter if there's real historical evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, that it only comes down to whether you want it to be true or not. Because he says that many of us choose to not want it to be true. And when he says that many of us, it seems like he's talking about humans in general. And so he would be included in that too. So it's kind of like he's low-key talking about how it doesn't matter what evidence you have or don't have for the resurrection. It all comes down to whether you want it to be true. And it's not that I want it to be true or want it to be false. I just want to know the truth of reality. That's it. And for me, it doesn't seem like the resurrection of Jesus is what actually happened in reality. That just doesn't seem real to me based on the evidence. So contextualizing me being unconvinced of the resurrection of Jesus as just me not wanting it to be true is a straw man argument, and it's a little insulting, to be honest.